So today we're going to review the first half of this exponential unit. We're going to really take a look at those properties of exponents that we learned before break. So what I did is on Delta Math is I created this Chapter 4 Review Day 2, the Exponent Rules notes, and the notes are optional. So if you are the type of person that likes to type it in as we go along, you can definitely pull this up on Delta Math. This is not due. You don't have to do this for points. You will have an assignment if you look at Delta Math. It's called Chapter 4 Review Day 2, just the exponent rules without the notes. That will be your assignment. So again, if you do want to pull this up, this is optional. Otherwise, you can watch the video and try these problems as we go along. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at just the different properties that we've learned in this chapter and do an example of each. And then on your assignment, you'll be asked to do 2 of each of these types of problems to prepare for your test on Thursday. All right, so let's take a look at the first one, multiplying powers. All right, so here's the first one, simplify. We have, let's see if I make this bigger here. Okay, so negative 11x to the 4th, y to the 3rd times negative 7x to the 5th, y to the 5th. So when we have a problem like this, I'm going to write this down on my iPad and then share that. I like to multiply one type of base at a time. So I'll show you what I mean by that after I write it down. Okay, so here's what it looks like. So first I'm going to start, and when you multiply things, you can multiply them in any order. So I'm going to start with just the numbers first. We have negative 7 and negative 11. I'm going to multiply those together first. So we'll get 77. A negative times a negative is a positive. All right, now I'm going to look at my x's. So we have 4x's here and 5x's here. So x to the 4th times x to the 5th. If you forget the rule, you can write it out. This means we have 4x's here. We have 5x's here. So how many x's do we have total? We have 9 of them. So when it's the same base and you're multiplying, you add the exponent. So this is x to the 9th power. And then we'll do the same thing for the y's. We have y to the 3rd and y to the 5th. So it means we have 3 y's on the left-hand side, 5 on the other. So if we add them up, we have 8 y's total. So there's our answer, 77, x to the 9th, y to the 8th. So we can type that in just to double check. And then if you use this calculator to do the exponent, it's the AB button. So x to the 9th, and then it was y to the 8th. All right, so you can check your answer. And again, Delta Math, it does show you the steps as you're working through the problems. Okay, let's take a look at the next type of problem, raising a power to a power. Here's an example. And again, I'll write it down and we'll walk through it. Okay, so raising a power to a power, again, we have 3 bases inside the parentheses. We have the negative 3, so that is to the 1st power. We have x to the 1st power, and then y to the 5th power. If it's a power to a power, you're going to multiply, you're going to distribute the exponents and multiply them together. So we'll have negative 3 to the 3rd power. We'll have x to the 3rd power. And then we'll have y to the 15th power because 5 times 3 is 15. And then you can simplify further. This negative 3 to the 3rd power, it means negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. And so if we simplify that, we'll get negative 27, x to the 3rd, y to the 15th. All right, so let's try typing that in. Negative 27, x to the 3rd power, y to the 15th. Okay, let's try the next problem. Dividing powers. Simplify using only positive exponents. Okay, again, I'll write this down. We'll go over it. So we have 4x to the 4th, y to the 4th, over 12x to the 5th y. Okay, well that y looks funny. Let's redo it. Okay, so again, we'll look at the numbers, the x's, and the y. So I'm first going to start with this 4 over 12, and we're going to reduce the fraction. So you want to think, what's the biggest number you can divide a 4 and a 12 by? And it's 4. 4 divided by 4 is a 1. 12 divided by a 4 is a 3. So we're dividing each of these by 4, and we're reducing the fraction. Next, we'll look at the x's. Now here's the way that I like to think about it. And I'll write it over here. We have 4 x's on top, and we have 5 x's on bottom. So when you cancel, how many x's are left and where. And since there's one more x on the bottom, we have x to the first power on the bottom. We'll do the same thing for the y's right here. We have 4 y's on top and 1 y on bottom. So when you cancel, how many are left and where? And so you could draw it out, or you could say, hey, there's going to be 3 y's left on top. If you draw it out, here's what it looks like. 4 on top, 1 on bottom. We have 3 left on the top right there. So here's our final answer. Notice with the 1, since there's a y to the third, you don't have to write the 1. So we can write y to the third over 3x, or you can put 1y to the third over 3x. Either way, Delta Math should accept. All right, so we'll do y to the third power, and then to get the fraction, I'll just do divided by, or I'll hit the backslash, and then it was 3x, and we'll submit our answer. Okay. Let's go to the next one, negative exponents. And the rule with negative exponents is if it's negative on the top, flip it to the bottom. And if it's negative on the bottom, flip it to the top. So we'll do an example here. So we have x to the negative 8th, y to the negative 6th, y to the 5th, over x to the negative 3. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to start flipping, right? So my first is this x to the negative 8, and it's negative on top, so I'll put it on the bottom. Then I'll do the y to the negative 6th, that also moves to the bottom. The y to the 5th I'll keep on the top. And then on the bottom, the x to the negative 3rd, I'll flip it to the top. So all I did is if it was negative, I flipped the base and the exponent to the opposite spot. All right, now we can simplify. So again, here's what that looked like. Just flip, if it was negative on top, flip it to the bottom, negative on bottom, flip it to the top. Now let's look at the x's. We have 3 on top and 8 on bottom, so when you cancel, how many are left and where? And you would have 5 x's left on the bottom. And then we'll look at our y's. We have 5 on the top and 6 on the bottom, so when you cancel, how many are left and where? You have 1 left on the bottom. And on the top, if you don't have a letter left over, there is a 1 there, right? Because we did cancel things and get a 1. So our final answer will be 1 over x to the 5th y. So I believe this is multiple choice. And there's our answer. Okay, let's take a look at our last one. It's just kind of a mixture of the rules. So this has division, it has power to a power, and for some of them it might have the multiplication rule as well. All right, so express the fraction in simplest form using only positive exponents. So I'll write this up. We have 12 h to the 9th over 3 h to the 4th to the 5th power. Okay, so first I'm going to start with the parentheses, and I see that to the 5th power that I'm going to have to distribute. Again, it's 3 on the bottom, it's 3 to the 1st power, so we're going to distribute and multiply our exponents. Power to a power, you multiply. So here we'll have 3 to the 5th power. We'll have h to the 20th power, and I didn't change anything on the top, so we had 12 h to the 9th. All right, so first step, distribute your power to a power. Next step, I'm going to simplify 3 to the 5th power. 3 to the 5th power is 243. So we have 12 h to the 9th over 243 h to the 20th. Okay, next step, let's take a look at our numbers. We're going to reduce this. What is the biggest number we can divide 243 and 12 by? And I'm going to guess like 3. Yeah, it's 3. So I'm going to divide each of these by 3. So 12 divided by 3 is 4. 243 divided by 3 is 81. So there's the fraction in lowest terms. So you just think what's the biggest number you can divide both of those by. And then we'll look at our h's. We have 9 on top and 20 on the bottom. So when you cancel, how many are left and where are they? And there's going to be 11 left on the bottom. So our final answer will be 4 over 81h to the 11th. So 4 I'll do divided by 81h, oopsies, to the 11th. And submit our answer. And there it is. So your assignment, again, this wasn't the assignment, this is the notes if you wanted to follow along. The assignment will be the Chapter 4 Review Day 2. It's called Exponent Rules. I better double check. So let me find it. And I did write it on Google Classroom too. So it is called Chapter 4 Review Day 2, Exponent Rules. So you're going to have 2 of each of these types of problems that you're going to want to finish for tomorrow.